Hey everyone, how you doing? Very nice to have you with us. Bob, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, it's Wednesday. It's another average, not quite spring day in Omaha. It's, 50 degrees and raining off and on and gray and yucky outside. Haven't seen sunshine here in 4 or 5 days now, and I'm starting to get a little irritated about that. But at least it's not snowing. That's one of our, one of the things we can say around here. At least it's not snowing.
Right, right. Yeah, it's spring is struggling to get here. It's kind of we have a nice day, then three bad days, then a nice day, three bad days. It's taken a while. Um, guys, as you come in, please say hello. Let us know where you're coming in from, and also do us a massive favor and smash that like button as you come in, and that will help bring more people into the chat. And that's a good thing for everyone because we get a lot of we get a lot more vibrant discussion going the more people we have in here. And we've actually, if you've got a question, please put a Q in front of it, and that'll help me to find it most quickly. Um, Jonathan's coming from Chattanooga. Sandy, how you doing? Amy's here from Ashland, Oregon, and we have a question already from Rick. How you doing, Rick? Is it true that Bob's Sunday Live is going to be quacked? Can you shed any light on this, Bob?
Yes, it's not really a mystery since I've already posted it and the thumbnail is out there floating around. This Sunday, my normal Sunday live stream, I'm going to have Rick on and we're going to hang out for an hour and talk and answer questions. And if nothing else goes on, maybe we'll just talk about how to cook ducks.
Mm. So, yeah, it'll be a quackers conversation. um, okay, so we've got Variety coming in from Evansville. Is that Indiana?
Indiana.
Yeah. And Brooke's here from Tillamook County, Oregon. How you doing, Brooke? Oh, we've got some questions coming in. Let me tag these as they come through. And John Kelly. I have been on carnivore for 4 days now and have had severe spasms in certain areas. How much salt is too much salt, and any other recommendations to relieve spasms? How much salt is too much salt? I would say until it doesn't taste nice. How about you, Bob?
Um, it's really hard to eat too much salt with the caveat that your kidneys are functioning properly. If you're not polluting yourself with sugar, it's the sugar that causes the kidneys to not function properly. If everything is functioning properly, you can pretty much eat as much salt as you can stand, and if you have extra, your body will just flush it will just flush it out. Salt doesn't actually do anything bad to you if you've got extra salt, as long as your body's able to get rid of the excess. The other thing I would look at besides just salt, and you don't even have to get one of the expensive ones like, salty or element or any of those, but get yourself, just go to Walmart or Walgreens or whatever and get yourself just a cheap electrolyte mix of some sort that has um, sodium, potassium, and magnesium, because it's very possible that some of your spasms are happening from something other than salt. But the actual answer to your question is I don't believe there's such thing as too much salt. It could be. I mean, remember, I'm just a retired truck driver talking about my experiences, but going back through my orders, In the almost 3 years I've been carnivore, I've gone through about 20 pounds of salt.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. I feel like it's almost like we end up replacing the sugar for salt, you know. It's yeah. Um so thank you for your question, John. We have another one coming through. We have another question here from Amy. And Amy's asking, do you think cooking in a sous vide bag is okay? Plastic. Probably not. Anything that's in plastic and being heated up, like and like Teflon and all that kind of thing is probably not great. I will say though, I'm not the best for being conscientious about this stuff because I'm pretty lazy. And yeah. So, but what are your thoughts, Bob?
As long as you're using a reputable sous vide bag, while it's probably not ideal, I'm guessing that the sous vide bag that is plastic, but it's been designed to be used with the sous vide, which means it's going to be heated up. And hopefully, they're conscientious enough not to let a lot of plastic particles bleed off of it into your food while it's cooking. It's given how much we have in the way of microplastics in our environment now. My personal feeling is that a little bit, especially if you really like the way your food comes out of the sous vide, and that keeps you on track, a tiny little bit more microplastics in your system versus eating carnivore foods that you like well enough that it keeps you on track. It seems like a fair trade-off to me. Ideally, you're just going to cook in cast iron and not use any of the fancy gadgets. But I know a lot of people like their fancy gadgets. And like I said, I have to believe that those bags are designed with heating in mind.
Yeah. Okay. We've got a question here from John. Dave, last week I did OMAD in the morning. Only ate one meal for breakfast. Do you eat OMAD in the morning? I thought I remembered that from previous videos. Yes, typically I have eaten my OMAD in the morning. Recently that's changing though. Because I find what I'm finding is that I thought I needed to eat the breakfast in the morning, like the OMAD meal in the morning. But I think that was more out of habit than anything. And I'm finding that I'm doing pretty well just getting up, not eating, and just having a coffee and whatever, and letting the day go until I actually feel hungry. And that has tended to be. I've only been doing this for about. It's not even a week, but that's been around 1 or 2 o'clock that I start to feel hungry these days. So yeah, so I've been moving it. That's not to say I won't go back, but yeah, I'm feeling better having it around 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Hmm. But yeah, I did do the breakfast OMAD for it's more than 2 years. Okay, question from Carolyn. Is it necessary to take an iodine supplement if you're not using regular table salt?
That's a really big question.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's a lot of nuance here. First of all, regular table salt, take it out to your trash can, throw it away. Because if you look, I'm not going to say the brand name, but everybody knows what I'm talking about when you discuss the Umbrella Girl salt that comes in the round blue package. If you read the label on most common table salt containers, the first ingredient is salt, and the second ingredient is sugar. So I would ditch that, get yourself a good salt. depending on where you live in the world, Redmond's real salt is from here in the U.S. There's some Himalayan salts. There's a lot of different really good salts out there. Now, depending on where you live, if you live near a coast somewhere and your food is being sourced from eating the grass near the coast, you probably don't need an iodine supplement because the seawater will be leaching into the ground and putting all the minerals and stuff back. If you live here where I do, in the middle of Nebraska, which is the feedlot capital of the world, you're probably going to want to take an iodine supplement because the beef that comes from here is fed in feedlots. It's not ideal, but it's a lot more expensive to get the good stuff. So I eat just whatever I can get at Walmart or Aldi's, and I do use a couple of drops of iodine in my morning beverage just in case. Because iodine, just like salt, if you don't have enough of it, it can cause real bad problems for you. But if you have a little bit too much, your body will just flush it out. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Thank you for your question, Carolyn.
That's a great question. I mean, that's a really good question. I like that.
Yeah. Good morning, Jonathan.
Hello,
Jonathan's
Jonathan.
here on both our channels. Thank you for watching on both our channels, Jonathan. Appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you, Jonathan. We really do appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. Question from Brooke. Anyone have pets here? We got stern advice from our vet to throw out kibble. We have a diabetic cat who is doing loads better on strict carnivore. Kibble is not carnivore. Yeah. My cat won't touch it. I'll get a look from the cat like, are you serious? You seriously expect me to eat this stuff? Yeah. Having said that, though, she's very picky in a lot of ways. Like she requires the meat to be cooked, and she doesn't like particular things, and yeah, she's very picky like that. But Bob, do you have pets? No.
No. I will eventually have pets when I get down to Texas, but I haven't had pets in my life because I was an over-the-road truck driver. And you're looking at probably one of the few people on the planet that has successfully killed a fake plant. So trying to take care of a pet is probably not a good idea for me.
Right. Got it. Thanks for your question, Brooke. And I can see people in the chat are also answering. Anyone else, if you've got any questions or anything you'd like us to discuss, please put a Q in front of it, and we'll get to it. So, yeah, you were never a fan of houseplants either, Bob.
I like houseplants. I just can't take care of them. And I mean, it's an interesting little story. I've told it before on my channel, but when I moved out here to Omaha back in 1990, my mother bought me a really nice silk plant just so that I would have something green in my apartment when I got out here. But I did not notice when I was arranging things, I set the plant up in one of the corners, but it was right in front. I didn't notice it was right in front of one of the registers for the heating system of the building. And I was in the basement, and it was free heat because the heat was generated in the basement. So a lot of heat came out of that register. And I woke up the first morning after the heat had kicked on, and all of the nice, pretty green silk leaves were brown and curled up from the heat. So yes, I have successfully killed a fake plant.
Okay. Variety. Should an overweight person eat less fat and more protein when doing carnivore? Does it matter? I think both fat and protein are essential, but I think you'll probably find that you do better with more fat because I think the fat is going to be more satiating and the fat's going to give you more than like it's giving you all the stuff you've been depriving your body of for years on a low fat kind of style diet or sad diet. Um, I think and from my experience, when I have been overweight and I've gone low carb or gone keto, I always feel better with more fat, and I always get better results with more fat. What are your thoughts on that, Bob?
Yeah, more fat is definitely the way to go. Um, the fat is the energy source for your body,
Mm.
and eating fat doesn't make you fat, but eating more fat will help ramp up the things in your body that allow the stored fat to be oxidized and used. So, I mean, it just I don't know the science behind it because I'm just a retired truck driver, but anybody you listen to, and I would, I'd start at 1 to 1 to 1.5 to 1 fat to protein, and then see where you feel the best
Mm.
is the best way to go about it. And if you don't think you're getting the results you should, or you still feel a little sluggish, just grab a stick of butter out of the fridge and cut off 3 or 4 or 5 little chunks of it and set it on your plate and eat that with your food just to get a little more fat in to see how you feel. I
Mm.
will always say the first places to start when you're just getting started is eat more and eat more fat because
Yeah.
we're taught from the time we're little kids, our parents and grandparents would say, oh, if you eat all that you're going to get big and fat. So we've been told our whole lives to portion control, don't eat that much. And that's a really hard thing to break, to just sit down and eat pretty much fatty meat as you want, as
Mm.
long as you're eating both fat and meat. I would not go with the lean stuff unless you're Jonathan probably has some videos about this on his channel. I believe he cut fat down when he was making a cut for a bodybuilding competition, but I don't know all the ins and outs of that. You'll have to go check out his channel to see what his
Mm.
exact protocols and that kind of stuff are. But um, I
Mm.
wouldn't.
When you're getting started, my experience has been also when you get started, um, the more fat you eat, as opposed to anything else, the stronger the ketosis you'll be in the following morning. Like when you wake up, you'll be able to smell it on your breath. Um, and that was always the good sign for me that okay, I'm going in the right direction. Was that keto breath, and it's not pleasant to go. Oh, I smell like a rotting vegetable factory or something. But it's a good sign to know that okay, I'm in ketosis without having to worry about measuring and stuff like that. So yeah, more fat is better. We've got a question here from Jeannie. Dave, what kind of foods does your daughter eat? Um, Traditionally, um, kind of Japanese foods, which would be like, you know, udons and ramens and fish and rice and that kind of thing. It's traditional Japanese diet. She has her junk as well, but it's basically a traditional Japanese diet. So it's not great, but not bad in relation to being it like the typical diet the kids are eating in America or Australia or Canada, you know. Okay. We've got a question here from Emma. Have you tried suet? I've been eating suet pellets raw, frozen. I haven't tried it. Have you, Bob?
I have not.
Right.
I've heard of
Um,
suet. I know what suet is, but I've never actually tried it.
yeah, same. Um, yeah, so sorry. No and no.
If anybody in the
Um,
comments has tried suet and knows anything about it, jump on in there and give Emma some
yeah,
help
so
there.
I guess Emma, as you've been eating it, I guess it's tastes good, keeps you satiated. Something good about it. Like, how is it going for you? Um, okay. Question from Vincent Dave. I heard in an interview you did that you were an alcoholic in the past. Did you suffer any health issues stemming from this that then resolved with carnivore, or did carnivore come later? So to my knowledge, I haven't suffered any health issues from the alcohol, but I guess that's to be determined because, you know, any damage I've done may appear later. But there was ongoing lifestyle damage from the alcoholism, which is why it needed to stop. Which is like just, you know, relationship issues, lost time, lost opportunities, all that kind of thing from it. Um, and yeah, so that's why it needed to stop. And basically, my pattern for getting off it was I went keto. I had some problems on keto, but keto helped me get off it. But then keto quickly became carnivore. So yeah, that was the pattern. But yeah, as far as health issues, they're all resolved. Apart from anything I'm not aware of yet. Yeah. Um. Okay. So say, Dave, have you interviewed anyone who has been on strict carnivore for many, many, many years? Anything that surprised you? Yes, I've interviewed Rick, who's been carnivore for over 40 years now. Um, but yeah, like I had someone on the other day who's been carnivore for 7 years. I don't know if that's many, many, but yeah, like I've had people on that have been up to besides Rick, I've had people that have been on for, you know, 7, 10, 12 years, and they're doing really well. You know, the thing that surprises me about carnivore the most is that everyone follows basically the same pattern, and that's that they get better. You know, there's no one coming on saying I did carnivore and I've got all these problems now. You know, everyone gets better. And um, I talked about this in an interview I did 30 minutes ago. Was one of the things that starts to happen is when you hear the same thing all the time, you kind of like anything in life, when you hear the same thing over and over again, you kind of it eventually it gets discounted more and more and more. And one of the things that we hear so often that I think, especially when you're interviewing people all the time, that you start to kind of not pay attention to as much anymore is people reversing type 2 diabetes. And the thing that is amazing about carnivore is that it reverses type 2 diabetes in basically everyone that does it. And it's again, you discount it because you hear it so much, but it's such an important thing because we go through life being told that once you've got it, you're stuck with it. That's it. Too bad, too sad. You're on metformin or whatever for the rest of your life. You're on insulin for the rest of your life. and it doesn't need to be that way. So the surprising thing is that everyone follows the same pattern, basically. Okay, sorry, that was a long way to answer that question.
It's okay.
Okay.
I have a surprising thing because I have
Mm,
also interviewed Rick, and to
mm,
go in a different direction from that.
mm,
The thing that is surprising to me, because I eat once a day, and I think I eat a lot at about 2 pounds of meat a day. You eat once a day, and you think you eat quite a bit at about 2 pounds of food. You know, you'll have a pound to a pound and a half of meat and 6 to 8, 10 eggs, whatever it is. And a lot of people do that
mm,
because they're like, oh, I'd like to eat more, but I feel like getting, I hear all these horror stories about having too much food and gluconeogenesis, and it's going to make me fat if I eat too much. I will point to Rick, Charger Mopar, who's been carnivore for 40 plus years, eats 3 meals a day at 1.5 to 2 pounds of food at each meal. And I would challenge you to find an ounce of fat on that man's body. So I don't think you need to worry about eating too much. If you can stuff it in your face and it's carnivore, go for it.
mm. Nice. Okay, we have a question here for you, Bob, from John. Are
Yes.
you ready for Texas after this Omaha winter?
Yes.
That was easy.
Easy. Absolutely. I mean, I'm sitting here staring outside, and it's I haven't seen the sun in 4 or 5 days. It's not terrible. I mean, it's 45 to 50 degrees, but right now, because I just clicked over to the website, right now at my property in Terlingua, Texas, it's 95 degrees.
Mm,
Yes, I'm ready to go to Texas.
yeah. Okay. Amy says, oh, about suet. Suet is the fat from around the kidneys and very high in nutrients. I don't do well with butter, but suet is great for me. Ah, okay. Yeah. Oh, and Amy's also saying, Bob apparently never had an Italian mother. Manga. Okay. I I'm not sure what we're talking about there. Okay.
I don't know either, but yeah, no, my roots are German and Scottish descent.
Ah, okay. Okay. Burns Aquatics. Have you both become more friendly and outgoing on Carnivore? I think I have, I think. I was more shy for the rest of my life. Yeah, I feel like I have. Yeah. More confident. Yeah. How about you, Bob?
No, I'm the same guy I've always been. My vitality is back, but when I was in college, all the way back all those hundreds of years ago, one of my best friends, his dad owned a car dealership in Athens, Ohio called University Volkswagen. And he talked me into coming to sell cars for him on the weekends because having met me 2 or 3 times just running around campus, he said, Bob, you need to be in sales because you have the gift of gab.
Hmm.
And I have always been an outgoing person.
Mm, nice. Um, okay. And Vincent's saying, I'm in Texas. Get ready to melt.
I am ready to melt after, you know, I still have it's 50 degrees outside, but because when the sun shines on the house, the furnace doesn't kick on as much because the radiant heat from outside keeps the temperature near the thermostat warm. But down here in my cave where I do videos, it gets cold, so I still have my little space heater down by my feet because no, I'm ready for the heat of Texas.
Yeah. I never thought I would be looking forward to a summer in Japan. But after this winter, I'm ready for it. Just bring it on. Like I've still got the space
Mhm.
heater here as well. It's been a very, very cold winter and very cold start to spring.
Yeah, and that's the big difference for me with temperature. Since I lost all my weight and I'm on carnivore, I used to the cold I never felt as much, and the heat made me feel icky. But
Mm,
these last few years, I feel the cold a lot more because I don't have 200 pounds of fat insulating my body. But I go out to work at the miniature golf course. I'm standing in a stone block building underneath a tin roof with the sun beating down on me. So if it's 100 degrees outside, it's 125 in the clubhouse, and that doesn't bother me at all. I don't feel
mm.
the heat at all on carnivore. In fact, it kind of makes my joints feel good.
That's a good point. We don't have the same amount of insulation anymore, right?
Yes.
So that's probably part of why winter is so bothering now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if there's any more questions here. Burns Aquatics says brutal winter here in Michigan. What happened to global warming? Yeah. Well, oh, I accidentally brought up a conversation that Jeannie and Rick are having. You would choke on a duck leg, I reckon. Lol. Um,
If
um,
they're talking about ducks, they must be talking about Rick.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah. So, oh, if anyone, if you've got any questions, please put a Q in there. Please let us know. Any discussion points, anything you want us to talk about at all, no problem. Just let us know.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bob, you were talking about your live streams being Sundays. Weren't your live streams on a Friday for a while?
Yes, they've been on Friday since I started my channel, but they were always consistent, sort of. I liked them better at 3:30 in the afternoon, which I do in the wintertime. But once the miniature golf season starts, I have to be to work by 4, so I've always pushed them forward a half hour to 2:30 Central, so that I could do an hour live stream and still get to the miniature golf course on time.
Mm,
Even if I have to work on Sundays this year, which I probably will, working on Sundays, I will usually get off at 3:30 or 4, which will get me home in time to just leave the live stream at 5 o'clock Central on Sunday from here on out moving forward. I'm getting a little bit better attendance. I've only done it twice on Sundays now, but I'm getting a little bit better attendance at those.
mm,
And while we're talking about that, I haven't actually talked to Rick, but I can't imagine he'll say no. But on Sunday, let me make sure I've got the date correct here. On Sunday, May the 11th, because as you guys know, my 3-year carniversary is on the 9th, and my 62nd birthday is on the 10th. So on Sunday, the 11th, I think it was the 11th, isn't that what I just said?
mm. Yes.
Yes, Sunday, the 11th at 5 o'clock. I'm going to have a special birthday live stream. We're going to talk about my 3 years on carnivore. We're going to talk about me turning 62. I haven't asked Rick yet, but I'm hoping he'll say yes, he'll be there. I have already asked Mr. Dave Mack, and Dave Mack will be there for that live stream. And as I get other guests, I will confirm those as well. Mark that day down on your calendar and plan on being there, because it should be a pretty fun live stream. Not that
Mm,
all of the live streams I take part in aren't fun, because I like live streams. I mean, I like just sitting down and chatting with Dave and chatting with whatever you guys want to chat about in the chat boxes. Um, these are my favorite hours of the week. Don't get me
mm,
wrong, I like making videos where I'm out walking and talking into my camera, but these live streams are my favorites.
mm. Yeah. Oh, we got a couple of questions coming through. Hang on one second. Oh, so Carnivore Hercules is just saying, I think it's not only weight loss that makes you feel colder, but also reducing inflammation. That makes sense because the inflammation, just by virtue of the inflammation being there, that's probably causing some kind of heat within your body, right? Um, yeah.
Yeah, all I
Okay.
know is I that first winter, right after my first winter on Carnivore, I was down in North Carolina where it was fairly nice all year, and I just froze. I froze all winter long. I was sitting in my trailer shivering the whole time. Had my heater going. It's 60 degrees out, and I'm still freezing to death.
Mm. Where is? Sorry, one Pierre. Partners A1C was 10 before Christmas, now down to 6.9. Oh, that's awesome. The doc says if he can get down to 6.5, he can stop metformin. Added bonus, he has dropped 2 clothing sizes. That's awesome. Nice work. That's
Excellent.
fantastic.
Excellent. Yes, indeed. That's
Yeah.
always worth a high five and a fist bump. Good job.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Frank. Dave, have you interviewed anyone who has been long-time carnivore, had aorta plaques, and retested annually and cured? I know Bob last week mentioned his have decreased. Thanks. Um, so I've interviewed Bob, but I've also interviewed someone else who had um, plaque reduction after doing carnivore, and he he retested, and it has reduced, but I don't know like how often he'd retested and how regularly. But yeah, Frank, if you send me a message, I can find that video and shoot it through to you. If you send me an email to realzerocarb@gmail.com, I'll look out the particular interview for you. But I know there's at least one. Um, and I guess the key part here is having it tested. And yes, there's at least one. Um, okay, lambs. We can influence our speed of metabolysis. It will slow down if you eat less and less often. Looking at Dr. Kelt's eating OMAD, 1 pound of beef and fasting a lot. What do you guys think? Hmm. I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
have a real opinion on that, but I will say I'm I think anybody that can fast should fast. Fasting is good, but I intermittent fast because I only eat once a day. But I've you don't get to be 350 plus pounds if you don't like to eat. And even though I'm carnivore, I still like to eat. So I I eat and I eat as basically as much as I want. And I will always point again at Rick Charger Mopar, who eats
Mm,
3 times a day, a pound and a half to 2 pounds of food each time. So he's eating 5 to 6 pounds of meat a day, and he seems to still be doing okay. So I
mm,
just I don't know if that's something. If it works for you, if you try it and it works for you, then that's great. But if what you're currently doing is working for you, why would you change it?
mm,
Hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
mm. Okay. Um, Hi, Angela. How you doing? Thanks for joining us. Eva. Okay. I've been carnivore for a little over a year. My stools are usually smooth floating. Should I be concerned? Hmm, not. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know that much about it either. I mean, if it's something you think you're concerned about, find yourself an expert on something like that to ask. Um, the main source of information I use is Dr. Barry. He has a private group. It's $5 a month. That lets you ask him questions, his wife questions, plus the 8 or 9 moderators that he has that are all experts in one field or another. It's a really good deal for $5. I would go that route before spending a lot of money on something else.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you're eating strict carnivore, I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah. Yeah. You can try kind of messing around with how much fat you're eating and that kind of thing, but yeah. No more questions. Oh my goodness.
Oh boy.
We've still got 20 minutes to go. We've hit 100 people in the live stream. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Do me a massive favor. Do Bob a massive favor. Whoever's channel you're on, please smash the like button if you haven't already. And that will... oh, what's this one? Lambs. I heard Rick complaining of being always hot and sweating a lot. I wonder if he's maybe ramping up his metabolism unnecessarily high because of his eating patterns.
I would have to say it's more of the fact that he lives in Miami, Florida, where the average temperature is 95 degrees with 100% humidity.
Right.
Just a thought.
Yeah. If I was living somewhere with 100% humidity, I'd be complaining a lot. Yeah. Okay. And Angela says, just to follow up on Dr. Berry. Dr. Berry went up on the coat of his group. Oh, the cost of his group. You can't get it for $5 a month anymore, but still well worth it if you have medical questions.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm in the $20 a month tier on his group, just because, do I actually need advice from the group anymore? Not really, but I figured Dr. Berry saved my life. The least I can do is keep my membership in his group for a while as sort of a thank you for saving my life.
And Frank's just chiming in here. Floating stool is normal because of fat.
Okay. Yeah,
okay. Oh, this is an interesting question. Burns Aquatics, why do you think no governments have endorsed carnivore? It seems it would save so much money and you'd have the calmest, happiest population. I think the problem is that a government, like a business, is made up of a group of people who, at the end of the day, they're only looking out for themselves. Whether you're a politician, a doctor, some kind of business person, whatever, and you think, okay, well, I'm going to do my profession for the best reasons. I'm going to go and save the world. I'm going to cure people. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. At the end of the day, you've got kids that need to go to school. You've got a mortgage. You've got holidays you want to take. You've got all these things, right? And so when that is, when that's your ultimate motivation, money talks. And, why? And everyone's got short-term thinking now as well. Everyone wants to get patted on the back for what they do now. And someone that comes in that's going to make changes or make recommendations that's going to cure people in the next 20 years or make the population happier in the next 20, 30, 40 years, no one's going to do that, right? And when you've got lobbyists from the food industry and pharma and all this kind of thing greasing your palm, when you've got mortgage payments and blah, 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 there's just too much fighting against the kind of, well, let's get everyone healthy. That's my thoughts anyway. What do you think, Bob?
Uh, yeah, big food, big pharma, the healthcare system. I mean, big pharma owns medical schools now, so they're not teaching doctors how to be healers. They're teaching doctors how to follow the flow chart so that if you have these symptoms, this is the drug they prescribe to you. That's all doctors are these days, that they're cranking out of these doctor mills. And, the interesting thing that a lot of people don't know, back 30, 40 years ago, when the tobacco companies were catching all of this flack for all of their products cause cancer. What did the tobacco companies do to make sure they kept a revenue stream going? They bought all of the food companies. Philip Morris bought Kraft, and R.J. Reynolds bought.
Mm.
I mean, the big tobacco companies bought all the big food companies because that was the next great addictive thing. And all of these companies spend millions of dollars a year on people sitting in the lab with their chemistry set, making the food hit the precisely best bliss point, which means when you eat it, your brain goes, oh, that's really, really good. And the sugar addicts you. As the sugar starts to kill you, then comes their buddies at the big pharmaceutical labs to sell you more pills. And of course, to keep everything running smoothly, they give billions of dollars to so-called researchers and to so-called government officials to everybody continue just running the cycle of getting fatter and sicker. I've talked about this a lot on my channel. There is no money to be made from a healthy person, and there's no money to be made from a dead person. All the money is made in between, and the closer they can get you to the deadline without pushing you into being dead, the more money they can make off of you.
Mm, mm. And I've talked about this a lot, and I'm really critical of doctors. But one of the biggest problems we've got is that the majority of doctors are unable to think critically. Right. They have any level of critical thinking trained out of them while they're being educated, or they're just unable to do it at all. Because and you can see it with a doctor when you talk about, like, if you ask them a question like, is there any alternative to this medication? Or, I've reversed this condition and I've done it by cutting out carbs out of my diet, and just their eyes glazing over, or their automatic response of that's dangerous, is it just kind of shows you that there's a complete lack of critical thinking skills, and that exacerbates this problem. Like Bob said, it's like the doctor, it's almost like a mill, right? It's just producing this industry, just producing doctors.
Yeah. And we as human beings are very into instant gratification. Why in the world would we do what we're doing, the carnivore diet, all of these things, to make ourselves healthier, when we could just go to the doctor and get a pill? It's the easy button of life. Just go to the doctor and get a pill. You don't have to change your lifestyle. Just go get a pill for it. And
Right.
that's the mentality that has invaded our society.
Yeah. And that's the sad thing about marketing, right? The product that sells best is medication or outside of medication. It's always the product where it's just, you push a button and it works for you. You take the pill and it works for you. You press the starting process and everything else just happens for you. And that's a sad thing about the human condition, right? That's all we're looking for. We're looking for that button. And that can therefore be exploited by marketers. Yeah. Okay, Rick, how can there be anyone in the carnivore community who does not know how long I've been on the carnivore diet? Yeah. I mean, I'd been in the carnivore community almost, 5 minutes when I heard one of my first mentions of your name. I think it was on a Bart K live stream. But yeah, um, yeah. But at that
Yeah.
stage, it was Rick's been carnivore for almost 40 years at that stage. I think you're on year 49 when I got started, Rick. At 39 when I got started.
Yeah, and I think he's at almost 42 now. I think it'll be
Yeah.
42 in August, or it might be 43. And he's been carnivore for a really long time.
Mm. G'day, Papa Carnivore. How you doing?
Hello, Papa. Glad you made
Thanks
it.
for joining us. Okay. Do we have any more questions here? No questions. Oh, hang on. We've got a comment here from Lambs. It's a system of money laundering, not only food and medical care, but also the climate shenanigans costing trillions of dollars. The whole thing is about moving money from one person to another, or getting it out of some kind of non-profit or something and getting it into private hands. Yeah, agreed. Okay, no more questions. Come on, oh, hang on. No, that was Rick's question. Come on, guys, we've got 9 minutes left. We've got 9 minutes to get a few more likes from you and some questions or discussion points. Oh, here we go. From Rick, have either of you had any duck lately? I haven't, no. No. And you wouldn't want to catch the wild ones around here. They're probably really bad.
Yeah, I have not. I mean, I would love to have some duck, and I really do like lamb. Lamb is really good, but where I live, anything that isn't beef, chicken, or pork, which are all commercially grown here, is really, really expensive. You know, if you live near a coast, you can go down to the wharf and get some seafood, which I really like, but I'm about as far from deep water as you can get. So seafood is expensive, and anything that isn't commercially farmed here in Nebraska, like ducks or lambs or any of that kind of stuff, is significantly more expensive, because not only is the meat more expensive, you have to pay to truck it all the way to Nebraska.
Yeah. Okay. Couple of questions come through. Jajang, Papa Carnivore, what would you recommend to come out of a stomach virus? I've had a tough 3 days. I'm going to go with fasting. Oh, jinx.
Yep, fast. I didn't feel like eating. I went out to eat with friends when I was down in North Carolina. We went to some Christmas lights show. I didn't know they were stopping at a restaurant on the way back, and I got just a bowl of shredded pork that had some kind of sauce on it, but it must have been bad because it made me sick, and I just fasted for 3 days till it went away. You might try making yourself some bone broth or something like that, but the best way to come out of a stomach virus is don't eat for a couple of days and see what happens.
Okay, variety. Which condiments do you use? Anything wrong with hot sauce or vinegar? My condiments are salt and salt.
Yes. And yes. However, there's nothing wrong with hot sauce or vinegar, provided you don't have any reactions to it. I would go for a full 90 days using just salt, and then add some red pepper flakes back in, or add a little vinegar to your meat. And if neither of those cause a reaction that you notice, then by all means grab some hot sauce and some plain yellow mustard. The cheapest, crappiest mustard in the store is usually just, now read the label, but it's usually just mustard seed, and vinegar.
Mm.
And there's no carbs in any of that. I see nothing wrong with that. Obviously, just salt is best, but there's nothing. I keep a bottle of hot sauce in my refrigerator because every once in a while I like my beef bowl to be spicy. And just before it's done cooking, I'll pull out the hot sauce bottle and go chunk, 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 and make it hot. I don't do it every day, but I don't see anything wrong with it either.
Mm. Okay. Mark, being carnivore about 7 weeks, 3 weeks keto prior, and only lost about 21 pounds. I'd lost 10 prior just by cutting pizza and sugar. I feel like it's slow. Am I just being impatient? I think you're doing pretty well with the 21 pounds. I would say just yeah. I would try to focus more on your overall health rather than just the weight, like how you're feeling, because I think when you focus a lot on weight, it kind of becomes disheartening after a while because you have days where you just like you go down a bit, and you go, oh yeah, this is fantastic, and then the next 3 days you're slowly going back up, and it's like, hang on, what's going wrong? I'm back to where I was before, and this is my life, and I'm just stuck with this, and you know, it's can damage your resolve. So I kind of try and focus more holistically on how you're feeling generally and how much better life is. What are your thoughts, Bob?
Exactly. As I talk about on my channel quite a bit, just fill yourself up with a big fat dose of vitamin P. Vitamin P is patience. If we had a little control panel on our stomachs that we could dial up, okay, this week I want to lose weight, and then next week I want to fix my inflammatory issues, and the week after that I'd like you to do something about my arthritis, that would be great, wouldn't it? But we don't get to choose that stuff. Our body will do what it wants to do. All we can do is continue to feed it the proper human diet. And eventually, it will get around to dropping any of the excess fat you might have. Eventually, it will fix your arthritis and on and on and on. But we don't get to choose when it does that. All we can do is just have vitamin P and watch what happens.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. Burns Aquatics. Oh, I like this question. Would you eat some fake bacon to convert a vegan to carnivore? I'm going to go with no, because if you were to say, okay, to convert you, Mr. Vegan or Mrs. Vegan, I will eat some fake food, just as a challenge. You're kind of saying to them, well, it's not that bad after all to eat this fake stuff. Like, I think it would be more convincing to say there is no way you would get me to eat this fake garbage because it's dangerous. It's toxic. What about you, Bob?
That I'm going to have to go with that answer. I would much rather, it's your health. If you would like to remain a vegan, that's fine. It's your choice. It's your life. But I'm not putting that chemical crap storm in my body. And there's
Nicely
a
put.
and there's a reason that 84% of all vegans quit within the first 5 years. And they cite more often than not their reason for quitting is catastrophic health failure.
Mm. Okay. What fatty seafood do you eat in Japan, Dave? I don't eat a lot of seafood. I try to eat, and mainly because I'm just not crazy about the texture and stuff. But I try to eat sardines from time to time. Yeah. I hold my nose and try and eat sardines from time to time. Okay, Eva, where can I find a list of essential recommended blood work labs to order on my own? That book from Ken Berry, no? What's that book called,
Yeah,
Bob?
it's called Essential Labs or something like that. It was co-wrote with Kim Howerton. So either on Dr. Berry or Kim Howerton's channel, you can find a link to his labs book. And the good thing about the labs book is that if your doctor doesn't know how to get the labs paid for, each test actually comes with a code number that you can show to your doctor and say, this is the code you enter to get the insurance to pay for this lab.
Oh, wow, nice. Okay, and Robert, is the carnivore diet similar to the Atkins diet of the 70s? Yes, it is. So it's most similar to the induction phase of Atkins, which limits carbs to like less than 20 grams, right? And the reason it's so similar to that induction phase of Atkins is like when I did Atkins the first time, that was my first introduction to high fat, low carb. Was the fact that when you start doing it, you realize you feel so good, you'd actually don't want to even mess around with those 10 to 20 grams of carbs, right? You end up staying just like, "Oh, I'll just eat this meat. I'm feeling awesome." So yes, it's very similar to that. So guys, we have hit time for today. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. Really appreciate you coming in, chatting, giving us your questions. And I guess we'll probably be back with you in about 2 weeks from now.
Common
Bob.
Sense Labs. I was just sorry.
Oh,
If it looked like I was looking at something, I was checking the name of that book. It is called Common Sense Labs, co-authored by Dr. Ken Berry and Kim Howerton.
mm,
But yeah, thanks for being here, guys. Like I said, this is one of my favorite hours of the week. I like to just sit here and talk to you guys and talk with Dave and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So have a great week, and we'll see you back here with Dave in 2 weeks. But don't forget, I've got a live stream on Sundays as well, and Rick is going to be my special guest this week.
nice. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Have a great day.